everybody, my name is Crystal Daly. I'm a beauty and brains coach, and today we are going to go over anatomy and physiology for cosmetology. So if you are a nurse or a doctor or you in med school, this ain't for you. If you want the cosmetology version of anatomy and physiology, and you want to know how to pass your state board and you want to learn how to pass your test, stay tuned. There are tips and tricks all throughout this video on how to remember the different pieces and parts of your skeletal system, so stick around. All right, perfect. So basic anatomy and physiology. If you have ever taken like a course in high school, if you have taken a course in college, if you have a medical background, if you were a nurse, it is not that deep. I promise it's not that deep. You do not have to. It's not that hard. Like I said, I'm basically gonna go over the things you'll see on Stateboard and like things you'll see on an average test. So when we talk about anatomy and physiology, you want to basically be able to know the difference between those two words. So the definition of anatomy is the study of the organs and the systems of the body. Whereas this definition of physiology is the study of the functions of these organs and the systems that they perform. So when I think about these two or how to organize them, if you watch a Law & Order and you see the body and you cut her open, right? You're like, oh, that's a heart. Those are some lungs. That is the anatomy of that body. Basically, whatever you see with your eyeballs, that is the anatomy. Now, when you talk about how the heart pumps blood to the lungs and the lungs clean the blood and the blood circulates throughout the body, at that point, you're now talking about the physiology of these organs. So when I hear function and physiology, I will underline the PH in physiology and then function because they both sound like an F to me. So then I'm like, oh, okay. Does that make sense? Hope so. Okay, so when I think about cells, I know that cells are the building blocks of all life basically. So why do we have to know about cells as a hairdresser? Like, so what? If you want healthy hair, if you want healthy nails, if you want healthy skin, everything begins with those cells. So are you drinking enough water? Are those cells hydrated? Are they getting enough water? Is your hair getting enough protein? Are those keratin cells getting what they need to be strong and healthy? So basically, you just need to understand how cells sort of work. Nothing hardcore. So if we look at this diagram below, it's some pieces and parts of this cell. We know that cells are the building blocks of life, but in the center, we have that nucleus. So when I think about the nucleus of a cell, the nucleus is going to be like the brain of the cell. Anything that cell needs to do is going to happen from that nucleus. So I always think about my nucleus, I think about my cell as being a little person. So if my cell was a little person, then the nucleus would be the brain of that cell. It would tell it when to eat, it would tell it when to reproduce, it would tell it when to self-destruct, whatever the case may be. When we talk about, so that purple in the middle, that's the brain. If you're drawing or taking notes right now, I would literally draw something that looked like an egg. I would draw a little egg, and in the middle, call that the nucleus, and that's the brain of that cell. Two other words we need to know: cytoplasm versus, hola ladies, grab your pen and paper. Two words that you kind of need to get organized in your brain is cytoplasm versus protoplasm. So I'm going to first start off with cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is the fluid part of the cell. So again, if that cell was a person, we know that the nucleus is the brain. The cytoplasm would be like the water part, the juice part, the blood of that cell, if that makes sense. It's not blood. It is not blood. This is an analogy. If we're comparing a cell to a person, the nucleus is the brain. The cytoplasm behaves as the liquid part or the fluid or the blood. When we talk about protoplasm, the protoplasm is the actual stuff that the cell is made out of. So in the beginning, I told you that the brain of the cell was the nucleus. Well, the nucleus is made out of protoplasm. So cytoplasm is the juice part of the cell, or the blood or the water part of the cell, whereas the protoplasm is the actual stuff that makes the pieces and part of the cell. So y'all see that diagram at the bottom with the cell. The purple part is the nucleus. There's like a mitochondria. There's little organelles in there. You don't need, the analogy is everything. Yay! Oh, thanks. Okay, great, perfect. I'm glad. So you don't need to know. So like how you said slimmer rocks. I think I said it. I don't know what I said. You don't need to know all that. You don't need to know hola. You do not need to know all those bits and pieces of a cell. You need to know the basics. You need to know how he thinks and what's he made out of. Cell wall, last little piece and part that you need to know for cells. The cell wall or the cell membrane is like what holds a cell together. So again, if the cell was a person, it would be like the skin. It would be like what holds that cell together. Here's what's interesting about like a cell wall or a cell membrane, especially like now with coronavirus and COVID-19. So cell walls are very like particular on what they let go in and out. Like everything can't get in and out of a cell. What's unique about a virus is that a virus can figure out how to get the magic key to get inside the cell and then like destroy the cell. So that is fun facts about cells. Alrighty, so hola. So I hope we all feel really good. Do we feel good with the basic intro to anatomy and introduction to cell? Like I said, basically that is about at least 5 or 6 questions just off of this slide. Hey boo boo, thank you. Hi ladies. Grab a pen, grab a pencil, screenshot. Again, I got some slides, but I'm going to say things that you're gonna want to write down, I promise. We feel good about the slide. Give me thumbs up if I can get off of this slide. Excellent, fantastic. Okay, sweet. Okay, so once we take these cells, what's gonna happen next is cells build and build. Oh, I'm choking. Okay, so cells build and build and build. So with these cells, the cells are going to build upon each other to make tissues. I would definitely screenshot this. And then tissues build upon that to make organs, and then organs build upon that to make body systems. So let's back this up. Matter of fact, let's just pause for like 2 seconds. Basic anatomy and physiology in the beginning, especially even for me, was really intimidating. But what I realized, all of this information builds on top of one another. Like they literally like lay the info, and the way the I guess like publishers, editors make the books, the information layers on top of one another. So if you get a really strong foundation in the beginning, it's easier to add fun facts on top of that. I hope that helps. So we talked about how cells make tissues, tissues make organs, and organs make body systems. So let me give you an example. Hola, friends. Hola. So when I talk about cells, so when I say cells, think about skin cells or epithelial cells. Skin cells make skin tissue. They make epithelial cells make the skin tissue we see on our face. It makes scalp skin. It makes mucous membrane. So like any like juicy skin, so like mouth on the inside of your mouth skin, the inside of your eyeball skin, all that's epithelial skin, epithelial cells. These epithelial cells will group up to make tissue. So your mucous membrane is your skin. Well, different types of tissues will group together to make our organs. So if you think about your heart is mostly muscle, but it has connective tissue, it has epithelial tissue, it has all these other different type of tissues to help it like be a heart and do its like heart thing. Well, then different organs will link up together to make these body systems. So when I think about the body system, to just keep going with the heart is a part of the circulatory system. So with the circulatory system, I have the heart that's pumping the blood. He's going to pump the blood over to the lungs so the lungs can clean the blood, and then pump the blood through the rest of the body back to the heart to do that process all over again. Well, those are different organs working together for one goal, and that's like to keep us alive, right? And that makes our body systems. I hope that helps. Does that help? I know y'all gotta give me a thumbs up. So basically, with all of that information I just gave you about body systems, you need to know that cells make tissues, that make organs, that make body systems. And if you can like mentally walk through that kind of example, you'll be fine. Because if they ask you a question like that, you can walk your way backwards through it. Like, oh, that's the body system, that's the circulatory system, or that's the nervous system. If you can look at all of the body systems and kind of have an idea of what they do, you're in good shape. Give you some examples. Excuse me. The skeletal system, that's your bones, obviously. Then we have our muscular system, that is movement or our muscles. We have our circulatory system, so that's the pumping of the blood throughout the body. We have our nervous system, so our nervous system includes our spine, it includes our brain, it includes our entire nervous system. So how do we send messages to the body, to our muscles? Then we have our digestive system, that's like eating food. Hola, hey Megan, thank you. Then we have our expiratory system, so that's how do we get rid of waste. We have our respiratory system, so that's breathing. We have our endocrine system, so our endocrine system is like hormones. It's like hormones, or like our thyroid or our pituitary gland. Then we have our integumentary system, so that is like our skin, our hair, our nails. And then we have our reproductive system, and we know, Ola, no worries. And then we have our reproductive system. So our reproductive system is where babies come from. Like, yeah, we know that. Okay, so here is the nice part about all of that information. You want to have a little shot, that little shot that I just gave you about everything. If you can do that for every system, you're in good shape. But I'm going to be honest with you. When you go to Stateboard, they're not going to ask you about your digestive system. They're not. We don't have nothing to do with that. That has nothing to do with our industry. The things they will ask you about, and I do have this, like I said, on the slide, but I don't know if y'all can see it. I don't know. You guys can tell me later or DM me and tell me if you can see it. But they will ask you, I have stars by it, so highlight these or circle them. They will ask you about your skeletal system. It'll be a whole bunch of questions about that. They will ask you about your muscular system. They will ask you a teeny tiny little bit of questions about your nervous system. If they do, they normally focus on like the nerves of the face, because that's like really important with giving facials. But no one's gonna ask you about nerves of your brain. What is the shot for the lymphatic? Oh, I'm sorry. So the shot for the lymphatic is your immune system. So that's your white blood cells, your lymph nodes. If you've ever been really, really sick, like had strep throat, and a doctor feels right here, they're feeling for your lymph nodes. Anytime you got anything pussy or gross, like a pimple, or I don't know, anything with pus, that is your lymphatic system doing its job. So the shot is your immune system or your lymph nodes, and that's just what keeps you healthy. They probably won't ask you anything about your lymphatic system, but it's still good to know, especially like in the era we in. Yum, right? Gross, pus, yummy. So we said skeletal, muscular, nervous, and the last note for this slide is your integumentary system. So that system by itself is a chapter by itself. So there will be an entire set of questions. So if you are cosmetology, etiology, so that's just skincare, every discipline is going to have a whole entire chapter designated to the anatomy of your skin. So It's a whole thing of like cutting your skin open and talking about the different layers of the skin. So that is your integumentary system. So you're gonna jump into that some more. We feel good about the slide. If we feel good about the slide, give me a thumbs up and I will move on. All right, so let's jump into the skeletal system. This is cute and funny and it's all fun facts, but basically these are the facts. If you do see them on the test, these are the facts that they're going to ask you about. So when a baby is first born, there are about 300, a little over 300 bones in a baby's body. But as you get older, they fuse together and the number is 206. If you had like a flashcard or if you like were in the note cards, that would be a fact that I would have on a flashcard. Because there's no real way to like remember that like number. The whole point of the skeletal system is to support your body. It's the framework of your body. So if you think about it, if we did not have bones, we would be like, I don't know, flubber. I don't know. It wouldn't even be a thing. Bones are made out of 1/3 organic matter and 2/3 mineral matter. So when organic matter is literally like stuff that can go bad, like blood cells, biological matter, whereas mineral matter, those are minerals like minerals like calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. So the stuff that makes your bones strong. Only thing that's stronger than your bones is the enamel on your teeth. Fun fact I learned preparing for this class. Y'all know me and my fun facts. I love fun facts. So without our bones, without our skeletal system, literally our muscles would not have anything to attach to. Now I know before, like when I was in beauty school and I was learning this information, I didn't realize how connected everything was. And everything is uber connected. So guys, if you are able to remember and learn like all of the bones and like how they live, eventually as you learn the other pieces and parts of the other body systems, you'll see how they kind of like lay on top of each other. Like the same muscle and the same nerve that lays on top of the same bone has the same name. So it's just kind of easier to remember. Our bones also produce white and red blood cells. So that's what our bone marrow is for. If you ever heard like a bone marrow transplant, that whole idea is to help produce our red and white blood cells. And then again, our bones behave as a storehouse for any type of minerals. So if you take a multivitamin, let's say you're in the best shape of your life, you eat your fruits and vegetables, you also take a multivitamin, any type of extra vitamin that your body takes in that it does not have use for, it's gonna store in your bones, which is kind of cool. Fun fact. You guys feel really good about that? Y'all can just screenshot that. That's kind of easy peasy. I feel like we can move on unless you got any question for me. Let me get one thumbs up. Bones of the skull. So when we talk about a skull, so think about skull, think about Pirates of the Caribbean skull. But the skull is broken down into two parts. You have your cranium, and then you have your facial skeleton. Don't touch your face. Awesome. Don't touch your face. Coronavirus. It's getting real. I just washed my hands. But as you learn these different bones, it is going to be really important that you not only write this information down, not only screenshot it, but actually touch these pieces and parts and say them. If you really think about it, most hairdressers, we learn from pictures and we are doers. We got to get up and actually do something for it to stick. So when you say the words and you touch the body parts, it just helps stick in your brain. I cannot stress that enough. You have to repeat and close your eyes and imagine these bones on yourself or on a mannequin or however you retain information. All right, so let's talk about the bones of the cranium. So when we talk about the cranium, I'm talking about the bony case that protects my brain. We're going to, let me get my iPad so I can see. Okay, so first I have my occipital bone. So if I'm touching my nape, so if I'm touching my hairline where my hair begins and I walk it up the back of my head, this bone that sticks out in the back is called my occipital bone. If you see this in text, they may call it the hindmost bone of the skull or of the head. Hindmost just means the back. It's the back and at the bottom. If you screenshot this and really look at this picture, like you can see where the flat, like the joints of the flat bone, where the bones connect. Next, we have our parietal bone. So your parietal ridge and your parietal bone is not the same thing. It is not the same thing, and we kind of get that confused. So when I think about the parietal bones, if my hands were two bones, it's gonna come up and take the sides and top of my head. This whole is a parietal plate. The parietal ridge is like where my knuckles are, if that makes sense. As much sense as that can make. If my head was a box, my parietal ridge would be the corner of the box. Next, we have our frontal bone. Frontal is pretty easy to remember because frontal, forehead. And then we have our temporal bone. Our temporal bone are the sides of the bones, but it's by the ear area. If you chew, you can kind of feel it in there, right? Last fun fact that you may see on a test is that there are 8 bones in the cranium. If you're really into this information, or maybe you're in front of a textbook right now, excuse me, you may notice that I'm skipping over other words or other bones of the cranium. And it's basically because we don't use them. We don't use them. We don't touch them. It has nothing to do with facials. It has nothing to do with shampooing. So more than likely, you're not going to be questioned about that information. If you struggle with remembering the bones of the head, if you're like, Crystal, I just cannot remember these bones of the head, you need to start saying the bones of the head when you shampoo. That does 2 things. It helps that information stick a bit better. But then when you're shampooing, you also like realize like if you miss something, you kind of find it by saying the bones, like, oh, I didn't say temporal. And then like you can get that real good. If you are not shampooing people, if you don't shampoo people, Crystal won't nobody let me shampoo them. It's Corona, I can't shampoo. When you are shampooing your own head, you need to be saying the bones of the head. Like you need to be like occipital, this is like parietal, temporal, front. Like you need to do that. That is how that information is gonna stick, and then it's not gonna feel like work. You're like studying in a shower. Boom, 2 birds, 1 stone. I think we feel good about that. Let me get 1 thumbs up and I will move on. First, we have our mandible. So our mandible lives on the bottom. This is the largest bone of your facial skeleton. Like it's a large, strong bone. So like if someone breaks their jawbone, it's like, dang, bro. Like you really broke your, like that's serious, right? So mandible. For number 2, the upper jawbone is our maxillae. So when I think about maxillae, like if you turn up the volume, like you turn it up, max up on top. Another fun fact that I found about that today, I don't know, I was today years old when I found this out. Maybe I knew it and then I forgot it, or I just didn't know I knew it. I don't know. But this is 2 different bones. This is not 1 bone. So your mandible is 1 bone, but your maxillae is 2 bones. Probably not gonna even be on Stateboard. I'm waiting for the analogy. No, nope. Y'all, when I first started teaching, I had a real crazy analogy back in the day, but I cleaned it up. But whatever. Bye, Emma. Goodbye, Emma. Anyway, so we are going to move on to our nasal bones. So our nasal bones are going to live right where number 3 is. And I love this picture because, like, again, you can see, like, the joints of the bones, like, where they, like, break down at. So that nasal cavity, right on top of that nasal cavity is where your nasal bones live. Now notice right next to your nasal bone, hey boo thing, your nasal bone right on top. I have a number 5 over here, but I'm going to talk about him in a minute. So for number 4, those are going to be our zygomatic bones. Now that is not, I know I look real silly, but just do it with me, y'all. Zygomatic. So when you say zygomatic like that, you see how my cheekbones are popping? It's cheekbones. That's literally how I remember. That's how I remembered it however many years ago, a long time ago, 7 years ago. I don't know, it was a long time. But when you say zygomatic like that, It makes your cheekbones real like popping, and it just pops in my head like zygomatic. But zygomatic are your cheekbones. But when you say like, but don't you think of it? Don't you like think of the apples on your cheek when you say zygomatic? And then number 5, we have our lacrimal bones. So those are going to be on the inner of your eye socket. So if you think about like where you would put like some Betty Boop like gold sparkly like the spark like trophy wife, right? Like the sparkliest highlighter you got that you would I can see evidence yet. Like the sparkliest highlighter that you got like putting it right here on that inner corner so you like real poppy. Yep, yes, that's what that is. Your lacrimal bones right here on the inside. It's a very thin bone. On the inner, make sure I covered all my little notes. Yep, the inner wall of your eye sockets. So those are the basic bones that you are going to need for your facial skeleton. Any type of muscle or any type of nerve that's gonna go over these bones that I'm talking about will have a name that is very similar or sounds alike or almost the same, like literally the same name over these bones. So again, if you have this basic foundation, it's really easy to layer new information on top of that. Give me a thumbs up if you guys feel good. 1 and 2 aren't important. It's because as a cosmetologist, we don't even like touch like the trunk. Like we don't touch the trunk. The trunk has nothing to do. Like it's not in our scope of practice to even like treat anything there, so we don't have to learn anything there. But it's kind of like nice to know. So when we talk about our thorax is a spongy case that protects like all of our good stuff. So if you think about the core of what makes a human, like your heart, your lungs, like main arteries, like things that like you absolutely cannot live without, there's extra insurance or there's extra protection. So you have your ribs. There are 12 pairs of ribs. You have your sternum. So your sternum is this large bone that's like really thick and really hard. So if someone ever had like a heart transplant, in order to like get into this area of the body, you literally have to take like an operating saw and like, okay. I'm getting off course. I'm getting crazy. So, nice to know, but you don't need it. The 2 things that you do need, your scapula and your clavicle. So your scapula is going to be your shoulder blade, and your clavicle is going to be your collarbone. And the reason why these 2 are so important is because if you've ever cut anybody's hair, you ever got your hair cut, you want to get your hair cut, we know this little area is a hot spot. So individuals will say, hey, I want my hair shoulder length, but it's a big difference between being like above your shoulders, right here at your collarbone, sitting on your scapula. Is going to affect your end result, basically. Is it going to flip out? Is it going to not flip out? Is it going to turn under? So it's important that we have a good idea about where our clavicle, so when we refer to this area, you can sound really professional or, you have a good idea how that hair moves in that area. All right, we feel good. Scapula and clavicle, you need for your test, you need for Stateboard. Basically, if you notice, I'll start from the top of my head and I'm like moving down. So the same thing with the arm, everything is going to be referred to like before, above the elbow, and then below the elbow. So with above that elbow, oh, thanks, boo. Thanks, boos. So with above the elbow, that's going to be our humerus. So from shoulder to elbow, humerus. We think about like our funny bone. It's not funny when you hit it. The humerus is the largest bone of the arm. I always think like if I broke my humerus, that would not be funny. Anybody broke an arm? Y'all ever broke an arm before or broke a bone before? Yes, no. Gab, I think, no. Emma, you ever broke a bone before? Hi. You broke both arms? Psycho. That's crazy. Okay, fun fact about breaking bones. If you break a bone, your bone is going to not only heal back, but it's actually going to heal back stronger than it was before. So, like, let's say you were to break your humerus. I have a X-ray of the both the wrist and my elbow. What was you doing, child? Was it like a car? That's creepy. So imagine if you were to break that humerus. I have that X-ray. I have this X-ray of the humerus, and if you were to break that bone when it heals back, the area that was actually fractured. What is fractured? Fractured. Not only is it going to heal, but it's actually going to put more bone there to make it thicker and stronger. It's like, okay, you're dangerous, so we're going to make your bone a little bit stronger right there. So that's cool. Our body is cool and smart. That's just cool to me. Okay, back on track. So we got one is humerus, largest bone above the elbow. If you broke it, it wouldn't be funny, right? I broke my same arm twice. Oh my God. In the same spot? Or a different spot? It had to be a different spot. All right, so here is something that you're gonna want to make note of. So these next two, oh my God, what were you doing? If you look at number 2 and 3, we have ulna and radius. So it's a couple different ways. I remember ulna and radius. There's a muscle, there's a nerve, you need to get these kind of like organized in your brain. So I will throw my hand up in the air like party like a rock star. So my palm is facing me and my pinky and my thumb. When I think about my ulna, when I think about my radius, you got to think about how you learn. Do you learn better with pictures? Do you learn better with doing? Do you remember just hands on? I'll give you a couple tips. But your ulna is going to live on your pinky side. Your radius is going to live on your thumb side. When I was in beauty school, party like a rock star was a thing. That's how old I am. Y'all probably don't even know what that means. Anyway, party like a rock star was a thing. So throwing this up just made sense to me. I remember this just because of your party like a rock star. Yay! Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, so pinky side is going to be my ulna. Thumb side is going to be my radius. Here is what's cool about this. The ulna and the radius always go together. So I don't necessarily have to remember all of the facts about all of them. I literally only have to remember one side. Totally do. I literally only have to remember one side, and then I just know like all the other information goes to the other one, if that makes sense. So I always know that my ulna lives on my pinky side, and because my pinky is little, I also know that the biggest bone, because they're opposite. So the ulna lives on the pinky side, but it's also the biggest bone. Like the littlest finger got the biggest bone. Ulna, pinky, big bone. The radius lives on the thumb side, right? And like it's a big finger, so you would think the big finger is supposed to have a big, like no, but the big finger has a little bone. I literally remember nothing about radius. I don't even remember the definition. I don't even know if there's a radius definition because I only remember all of the fun facts about ulna. And because I know everything about ulna, I'm literally able to eliminate whatever or like I'm able to do process of elimination because I know everything about ulna. I hope the ulna lives on the pinky side. When I say the ulna lives on the pinky side, not in the hand, but in the forearm area. So right now, the area that we're talking about lives between the wrist and your elbow. There's two bones there. There's a big bone and a little bone. The big bone lives on the pinky side, which is the ulna. The little bone lives on the thumb side, which is the radius. Big bone, pinky, ulna. Little bone, radius, thumb. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you got that. I'll tell them about the you thing in 2 seconds. You changed my life with that one. Oh, thanks, boo. Who is this? Dynamic make. Did that help a little bit? The larger bone of the forearm lives on the pinky side. The smaller bone of the forearm lives on the thumb side. Awesome. If you got it and you feel good, oh, hey girl, hey boo thing. Okay, awesome. Hey Essence. So if you got it and you feel fantastic about it, boop, leave it alone. If you are still like, Crystal, I don't know, and I don't know if I'm going to remember that, another thing that helped me, if you are right-handed, this only really works for right-handed people, but if you draw the letter U, so if you write Ona, you write the word Ona. So if you have a piece of paper in front of you, this is going to be stupid because this is a highlighter. But if you draw U, y'all cannot, that was pointless. If you draw U, you end up drawing towards your pinky, or you end up drawing towards your ulna. I hope that helps. Do we feel good about this forearm area? Because now I'm going to move down to our hands. Hola, 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 hola. So we hit our ulna and our radius. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our wrist and our palm. You probably will not see this. I haven't seen this on a test, but nice to know. We have our carpus, which is our wrist. So any type of joint where you got like a whole bunch of movement and a whole bunch of rotation, there's a whole bunch of itty bitty bones that kind of like work together. So if you look at that diagram, you'll see I think it's 8 bones, 8 or so bones. Don't quote me on that. But that is considered our carpus. And then the bones that live in the palm of our hand is our metacarpus. And then our fingers are our carpal tunnel. Yep, boom, yep. Well, that's where the carpal comes from because it's in our wrist, which is our carpus. You see how it all goes together. That's what's really cool about like learning this information. So again, if you have ever had any type of class like this or any type of experience, you can connect information. There was quite a bit of questions on my test about the hands and the arms. Okay, sweet. Beautiful. See? Boom, boom. Thanks for that, Cans. Definitely needed that. So there was quite a bit of questions about hands and arms. But you're able to connect information that you remember from other areas of your life. So if carpal tunnel and carpus helps connect that information, like wrist, carpal tunnel, your wrist, then absolutely use it. And then lastly, we have phalanges. So when we think of phalanges, we always do like spirit fingers, right? But here's what's cool about phalanges, because phalanges doesn't necessarily mean fingers. Phalanges means like the digits in your fingers. Like that's like like each individual bone, like these 4 fingers. These 4 fingers have 3 phalanges, whereas your thumb only has, I can't do it. Like, okay, you get that point. Phalanges. So the little itty bitty bones that make up your fingers and your toes are actually called phalanges. But the individual digits. Sweets. We feel good about this slide. Yes, definitely connecting words help me. Yes. You have to, because there's no way to remember all of this information. Even with like right now, I'm giving you guys like the condensed one-shot version, how to remember boom, 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 boom. But still, you're going to have to go through and study and like make flashcards, especially if you don't play with this kind of information a lot. All right. Give me a thumbs up so I can change slides. We are going to move to our legs and feet. Do we have to remember the digits? Yes, phalanges. You don't have to remember the numbers. That's just fun facts. You do have to know that your fingers and toes are called phalanges. Fingers and toes, phalanges. We're on our last slide. So these are going to be the bones of the legs and feet. So the largest, let's make it to my note. So again, the same way how we kind of broke down the arm, how we talked about above the elbow and below the elbow, we're doing the same thing with the leg. So above the knee versus below the knee. So with our above the knee, our bone above the knee, the largest bone of the body, which is also the bone above the knee, is called our femur. Big bone, big long bone. Below our knee, we have our tibia and fibula. Tibia and fibula. So remember how in our arm we talked about ulnar radius, right? So in our leg, below our knee, we also have a big bone and a little bone. So the way I remember little bone versus big bone. So you see tibia, right? That is the big bone. And fibula is the little bone. Like a little fib, like a little baby fib. I don't know how, it's something I created in my head. I just see little, maybe because fibula has an L in it, whereas tibia does not have the L in it. So the L is for little bone, little, L-I-L. I hope that helps. That sounds terrible. Y'all get what I'm saying though. I know you get what I'm saying. So femur, largest bone of the body above the knee. Tibia and fibula below the knee. The tibia is the big bone. I hope I didn't get them backwards because last one I got backwards. No, I didn't get them out. These ones confuse me because of how similar they sound. Exactly. Tibia and fibula do sound the same. That's why I have to find that L. Because once I find the L, in my mind, the L is for the little one. I got another fun fact about tibia and fibula. But right now, we just need to organize big and little. So tibia is the larger bone below the knee. Fibula is the smaller bone below the knee. Tibia has less letter, fibula just like how many is big letters is little. That's how my brain connects them. Love it. Less letters than fibula. Got it. It's like reverse, like it's backwards, and that's why it makes sense. Perfect. That makes so much sense. A little, thank you. Okay, beautiful, fantastic. Y'all making my heart smile. Yay. Okay, awesome. Next, we're gonna move on to number 4. So that's the patella. That's your kneecap. We all know my fun story because a few years back, I took a real big spill and I literally busted my knee wide open to the point where they rushed me to the emergency room, gushing, but you love my reading because I'm blind and I'm trying to be cute without glasses, and I should put some contacts in, but I was like, I'm gonna be all right. Okay. But I'm in the emergency room, full of morphine, whatever, and the doctor comes in and she trying to get me together, and I literally have my finger in my knee rolling my patella around, and I am just so fascinated because now I'm talking about the layers of the skin and blah blah blah, and this lady is like, what did you do? First year of med school? You a nurse? What's up? And I'm like, no, I'm a cosmetology teacher, but I have to tell all my students I have to record this, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I will never forget my patella because under my medicated state, I was literally like, this is my patella. Yeah, it was crazy. So it's your kneecap. It is what covers your knee. And thank God I had a patella because like I would have jacked up my leg. Like just the design, the human design is just brilliant. Okay, moving on. So now we're going to move down to our talus and our tarsal. So our talus is our ankle bone. Now I know I am a nerd, Hannah, stop. So our talus is our ankle bone, and I know everybody is thinking like, I guarantee if I'm like, everybody stop what you're doing and touch your ankle bone, go. We all gonna touch that little bone that, like Yeah, that little bone that pops out on the side, that is not your ankle bone, guys. That is not your ankle bone. That is actually, don't let me lie to you, that is actually your fibula. It's the little bone. This little ankle bone that's popping out on the side, they're not going to ask you this on Stateboard. This is just a fun fact. Maybe, but at least you know it now. But I don't think they're going to ask you because you don't really deal with this in a pedicure. You're not really exfoliating this fibula area. But the bone that protrudes out on the side is your fibula. It's not your ankle bone. What is your, I know, right? Mind blown. Fun fact. Today years old. Your actual ankle bone is that joint bone that's kind of like hidden in the middle. I mean, I kind of have it labeled. You can do some more research if you want to really see it. Any cosmetology textbook is going to have this like highlighted or pointed out for you. But that is your ankle bone. Again, remember, any type of area where you have like this full, so the fibula is protecting the talus. Hot girl, if I could virtually high five you. Y'all just make me so happy. Yes. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Fantastic. You guys totally get it. But that makes sense. Think about how much action we get in our ankles. Think about how much action you get in your cheerleading, soccer, running, football, softball, whatever you're playing. How many times we sprained our ankles, and it's so many joints because we need that full 360 movement. We need to be able to run. We need to be able to jump. We need to be able to do what we need to do. Beautiful, fantastic. You know that good, exactly. Good job, girlfriend. Yes, y'all know this is making my heart smile. I'm gonna sleep so good tonight. Okay, so we had our talus. Did we get the tarsals yet? We did not get the tarsals. So our tarsals, those are 7 bones kind of like grouped up together. The main bone that you would kind of know in this tarsal area would be like your heel bone. Don't need it. Don't even need it. Just nice to know. Then we have our metatarsals. I'm over here dancing proud of myself. Yes, girl. Go see it. Go see it. Go see it. I'm gonna have to pull out my review questions. Okay. Our metatarsal is just a flat part of your foot. Again, don't really need that. And then again, number 8, we have our phalanges, and we know our phalanges are our fingers or our digits. I need y'all to make me a promise. This is your homework. This is your home play. Oh, yeah, no problem. Am I saving a live? Yes, I'm saving a live. Yes, I'm saving. I think I'm going to put these lives in my IGTV so then you guys can have them. And then I will put, the goal is to load these up onto my YouTube channel so then that way, like, you can go back and you can like to see the slides big, and you can screenshot them and take notes on the slides and kind of go through with a book, and it'll just work better. But you'll see the stuff. I promise you'll see the stuff. This is your home play. I need you all to DM me as soon as this live is over and tell me areas that you are concerned with. Promise, give me a thumbs up that y'all gonna review. Y'all gonna DM me and let me know what you want to talk about. Yeah, let me know. Even if it's not like theory stuff, maybe it's like, show me how to do the Stateboard haircut, or Crystal, show me how to, I don't know, show me how to exfoliate my face.